Let's look into now the Continental. What does it mean to you for a team like Nairobi City Stars, all the way from NSL to that continental space? And also, what's your take on the Kenya Police representing Kenyan football fraternity?
Well, it is not Nairobi City Stars. It
Sorry,
is Nairobi United.
Nairobi United. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nairobi United. Well, in 1998, a team also came from the provincial league, won an equivalent of Mozart, which then was referred to as Moi Golden, and that was Mathare United. And they had an opportunity to represent the country in today's equivalent of CAF CC. Nairobi United have also made it to that level. They didn't walk through. They exhibited what, you know, made them to win in the pitch. They were not given the same on a silver platter. Having said that, they are now going to be the official representatives of Kenya in the 2025-2026 CAF Confederations Cup. It is going to be a good platform to motivate the players, especially given that they have equally qualified to join the Elite League, the Kenya Premier League, having won the National Super League. It will give the boys an opportunity, to believe in themselves. It is going to be a good experience, and if they pick it through, then I could see Nairobi United becoming a force. Remember, that is the same thing which happened to Mathare, gave the Mathare United the impetus that has seen them through the top flight league from that 1998 to date. The Kenya Police, yes, this is going to be their second time in a row at the continental level, although last year they participated in the CAF CC. This time round, they are going to participate in the CAF Champions League. I believe they must have learned a few ropes, having participated in CC last year, to be able to, try and participate, not honoring, to participate, in the CAF Champions League this time round. I gather that they have already started their pre-season. I believe that they are retaining their technical bench. I believe that they know what awaits them in the CAF Champions League. The draw, I believe, will take place in Dar es Salaam next month. And they have some of the players who have already had, experiences both at the Champions League and at the CC level. So they should be able to bring, a few additions here and there and give it a shot. The beauty of it now is that we only have two stages. The first preliminary, which mostly will pit them against teams from Zone 5. Should they win through to second preliminary, it would be possible, because when you saw how they played last year, they were unlucky to have lost to Zamalek in Cairo, right? So with the same spirit, depending on which country or which team the draw will take them to, if they can be able to have a good display, particularly in their take advantage of their home match, then probably they would be able to get through to the group stages.
Do you believe these clubs are sufficiently prepared financially, technically, and administratively for the CAF competitions?
Not at the level at which some of the clubs, yes, the seasoned clubs, yeah, but there's always a beginning. I believe that it will going to be the first time for Nairobi United. It's a dream that they had never believed, but since it was a dream, it came true to them. Police, I believe, worked towards it. Yeah, so it is a step in the right direction. They might not be technically, prepared. It is a big investment, but will be coupled by the fact that CAF has also increased the preparatory funds from $50,000 to $100,000, which is in itself paltry, but it's better than nothing, unlike the years that, say, in the past years where the clubs were only waiting to get assistance once they joined the group stages. Now, with that kind of money, both teams should be able to get, players, quality players who can also help them to go beyond the two preliminary stages.
What mechanisms should the government and the FKF provide to these clubs to ensure that at least they heavily compete in these CAF championships?
The honors, I believe, is in with the government through the Ministry of Sports and, to be precise, the sports funds, because the two teams will be representing the country. I would not like to see the kind of disorganization that we suffered a couple of years ago, particularly with respect to the tickets, because traveling across Africa has become damn expensive. Now, one thing that the ministry, through the government, through the sports fund, needs to do is to make available for the teams tickets in advance. Two, the federation should be able to look at the fixtures, so that some of those matches needs to be rescheduled, to allow the two teams to prepare adequately. Because if the league is kicking off on the 20th of September, whereas the first, that will more or less be the week, yeah? The kickoff for the interclub championships, I think first leg will be somewhere around 12th of September, with the return leg basically 2 weeks around the corner. So for the clubs to continue, with their good preparations, the federation, the department of the leagues and competitions should look at, the fixtures for these particular teams, yeah, so that they are given ample time to be able to prepare.
How critical is continental success to improving football ranking and attracting sponsors and scouts?
Continental football, once again, I will use the example of Gor Mahia. When we reached the quarterfinals about 6 years ago, we had garnered up to 12 points. Yeah. The regulations are such that once your representatives garner up to 14 points, then the federation or the country is given 2 extra slots. That's why you find, because of the sterling performance of both Simba and Yanga in Tanzania, Tanzania have been able to get 4 slots, 2 for Champions League and 2 for CAF CC. Now, that means that the clubs participating in the top tier league, yeah, will always be trying to develop their respective squads, yeah, to be able to participate in their local leagues, yeah, to try and get the top 4 positions. Now, if that happens, then it means that the quality, yeah, of the respective national teams, yeah, will be improved. Now, with the national team's performances improved, it means that the ripple effect is that we will always be rising in the FIFA rankings.
Do you think the continental exposure would really affect Nairobi United in terms of balancing their domestic league and the continental league?
Well, the regulations at CAF is that any club participating in either the CC or the CL are given a latitude, yeah, to register up to 40 players. Yeah? So they should be able to take advantage of that so that they have depth in terms of their squad. Yeah? I remember I had a first squad, yeah, and I also had a second squad, which in our local parlance was referred to as Wakulima, you know, because we had the depth, particularly when now you qualify to the group stages, yeah, you will be having to play like over the weekend and during the weekday. So if you do not have a deep squad, definitely you will have or will feel the consequences of the player burnout. Yeah. Besides some picking up injuries and the issue of fatigue. So both Nairobi United and Police should be able to take advantage of, you know, the regulations or the latitude of the regulations given by CAF to be able to bolster their squad by signing up to 40 players. Now, that means that in the local league, you have to sign up to 30. But at CAF level, you can have some of these players, yeah, who will turn out for the team during the international qualifiers, CAF, you know, in interclub matches. And then you also have a squad that will basically be turning out for your local leagues.
Where do you see our Kenyan football in the next 3 years in terms of growth, professionalism, and global revenue?
Well, we need to have a very clear, you know, discussions with respect to the revenue. I would wish that we give the federation the benefit of doubt to be able to give us what really it entails with respect to their slogan of a fresh start, yeah, so that we see where at the end of their term, yeah, they shall have placed the Kenyan football.
How can the country, Kenya, position itself to export more talent to Europe and top leagues across Africa, with the examples of Aldrin Kibet now at Vigo? And also you can give us insights of who the scout is behind Omala.
Well, I don't know who the scout behind Omala is. Nothing derogatory, but I believe that it was not the wisest of ideas. Yeah. unless the whole move was premeditated on the financial gains. But in terms of player development, I don't think that was the right move for Omala. Based on the fact that even the move to Lebanon was ill-conceived from where I sit, because you saw, one, for 6 months, the boy was basically out of top-flight action. When he rejoined Gor Mahia, he was basically a pale shadow of who Benson Ochieng was by the time he was leaving for Lebanon. Now, I don't really know why he had to make that move. Yes, the agent knows, but the bottom line, the player knows best, because it is him who is going to play. He's not the agent. I don't know who the agent is. Yeah, but I don't think that was the wisest of ideas of the moves that the boy should have, undertaken, particularly having come back from, a failed transfer abroad. I would have taken 1 more year locally, yeah, to regain my former, form before making a decision to move for a professional stint outside. Now, the other question with respect to what needs to be done, football is an industry, and we need to go out, look for the raw material, get the factories or the industries, up and about, take the raw materials through the necessary processing, systems before we ultimately expose the products on the shelves of the supermarkets. We cannot be fast to export the raw materials and expect that they are going to attract value, whilst once placed on the shelves of the supermarkets. Now, the shelves of the supermarkets are like what is going to happen from 2nd of August, or what is going to happen from the 12th of September. Both the interclub championships as well as the national, either CAF, CHAN, or CAF, AFCON, or the World Cup qualifiers or the Olympic qualifiers. Yeah, but Aldrin Kibet's case is, I believe, as a result of what the then Minister for Sports, Ababu Namwamba, came up with. The thought to have, come up with the idea of Talanta Hela. This is where we find that Babu decided to get, connections with some of the academies, in Spain or wherever it was. So it's been easy for, say, Ngavi, Kibet, and, the others who have had the opportunity, because there has been at least a level of exposure when they crossed over to some of those elite academies in Europe. Kibet, I believe, has had a chance to be able to be enlisted at Celta Vigo, but he is going to be at Celta Vigo B, not the senior team. But I believe it is an opportunity. It is an opportunity to continue growing. Yeah. So if he succeeds at Celta Vigo B, then he will be in a position to, scale up to the senior team and would have the chance to play competitive football at the La Liga level.
Do you think the Talanta Hela initiatives should be done more oftenly in the country for us to export more talents, let's say from the secondary schools ball games?
Well, but there ought to be a structured relationship, because the way Talanta Hela activities were domesticated were more or less, parallel to what the federation was doing. I believe there is need to have a symbiosis of, administration of. The idea is good, but can we have a more, centralized execution, so that, because the honors of football development and administration in the country solely lies in the hands of Football Kenya Federation. Okay, so like the monies that were being expended during the Talanta Hela tournament should be given to the federation, for them to sponsor football at the grassroots. The football at the grassroots means that we need to empower, the leagues at the sub-branch level or the sub-county level, because that is where the young players are. That is where the untapped talents are. That is where the upcoming footballers are. That is where the schools are. But you see, this disease of quick fix, results, is becoming a menace, and that's why we have had cases, some of which have ended up in the ordinary courts of law, even at the secondary schools level. I hear that there are certain schools who have decided that they are going to be champions of Mamlukis, So once you start bringing Mamlukis on board, it means that, the motive, the prime motive is not to develop the talents. The prime motive becomes how to win the accolades. And that is not going to help us, because only a few players at the end of the day, are able to get an opportunity. Now, secondly, we also need to have a system or a structure of talent scouting, which can only be done by the federation working in tandem with Kenya Academy of Sports, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. Because, for instance, now we are headed for the national secondary schools Term 2 ball games. Let us confine ourselves to football. Does it mean that the players who are going to, or whose schools will be participating at the nationals are the best players in the country? I believe no, because we realize that there could have been better players, but whose teams or schools did not make it to the finals. The fact that nothing derogatory about Kibet, for instance, you find that there could have been better players in Trans Nzoia, better than him, but because these players, their schools did not go beyond the preliminaries, then we believe that those ones whom we see at the nationals are the best. I don't think that is the correct position, But we find ourselves in such kind of a situation because we do not have a structured system of talent identification. I would propose that the federation through the director of football development, alongside the Kenya Football Coaches Association and the Kenya Secondary Schools Secretariat, come up with a structured talent identification system whereby we start scouting players from the zonals, irrespective of whether your team qualifies or not, but we need to be having a database of players from that particular level, so that we can be able to also be outside, the secondary school system, in which case those players that shall have been scouted can form, say, the zonal team, or the sub-county team, or the county team. We can end up having a national, under 20, under 17, extravaganza at the end of the year, Similar now to the dictates of, say, Talanta Hela program. So from that, we are able to have, say, a provisional under 15, a provisional under 17 teams, which will now also be the feeder to the respective national teams, which can eventually be enlisted by the FKF in the qualifiers. With that kind of a structure, getting to the World Cup will be the easiest for the under 17, under 20 teams, because the structure in place now is that you will play in the zonal championships. In CECAFA, if we are doing under 17, the top two represents CECAFA region in CAF under 17, or the top two in CECAFA region represents the region in the CAF under 20. Now, at the CAF level, the top four represents the continent in the World Cup, So it is an easier route to be able to start developing. Because if we have players representing the country at age under 17 level, in the next cycle of the qualifiers, they will now move to the next age bracket, which will be the under 20. After another 2 years, they will be able to form part of, or fully, not even part of, but fully the Olympic team, which is the under 23. So in a span of, say, 8 years, we shall have systematically built our national team with players who shall have gained experience on how to participate in the World Cup, right from the under 17, under 20, the Olympics, and now give it a shot at the World Cup qualifiers.
The hula baloo that preceded in the just concluded secondary schools ball game, whereby Kisumu Boys, the game was abandoned, and finally there are some schools that had already taken their cases to the SDT. Is this really informed?
Well, that is a reason that emanates from the disorganization, because we do not have clear-cut, structures, both at the secondary schools, sports association, as well as the Directorate of Quality Assurance and Standards, which the department under which all the co-curricular activities are domesticated. But at the same time, that is why I did mention at some point that I would have expected that the federation, the current federation, should have started by amending the FKF constitution. Because if they did that, I would personally have brought in, the Kenya Primary School Sports Association, the Kenyan Secondary School Sports Association, the Kenya Colleges Sports Association as members of the federation. Yeah, that would give the federation an opportunity, to railroad all these misdemeanors that we are currently seeing, because we have a strict, registration system now under the FIFA Connect, Now that takes me to the next level, that we are happy that Kibet has moved to Celta Vigo. Nobody is talking about where the training and development and the solidarity compensation, those monies are likely to go to Narcissist Academy, which is not in Kenya. Yeah? So if we have such situations with the players registered, under the Connect, then when we come up with what is called the player passport, we will be able, from the age 12, to fully track, where this kind of players shall have started their footballing career, so that those clubs at the grassroots or the academies through which these players shall have gone through also benefit from the monies that are payable, from training and development, as well as solidarity compensation.
What role should the private sector and county governments play in shaping the football in this country?
County governments primarily need to do two things: be able to put up to standard, facilities, the infrastructure. At the same time, they should be able to, for instance, when Governor Karanga was the then governor in Vihiga, we saw the birth of Vihiga United, which up till today is still, participating in the second tier league in Kenya. We are also seeing a semblance of the same with Nairobi United, although we are told that they have their prime sponsorship from the Governor's Foundation. But the fact that there is a collective, interest from these two county governments, I think that we can replicate this. On the flip side, we realize that when the county government of Kisumu pulled out of Kisumu All-Stars, we have seen that the team at some point had to, seek assistance from well-wishers. They were not even in a position to honor some of the matches because of lack of funds. Yeah. So it is incumbent upon the county governments to ensure that proper infrastructure are put in place, and two, look at the possibility of chipping in. They might not really be in a position to fully, sponsor the teams, but they could even as well, put the players on some kind of a stipend in terms of giving them an opportunity to do, some kind of duties within the structures of the county governments. Now, the private sector, I believe, can only come in when there is organization and accountability, which for quite some time has been lacking at the federation. Because when we talk about the federation, let us not confine ourselves at the national executive committee level. The federation has its roots both at the sub-branch and at the branch level. We are not in a position to attract, funding from the corporates at those levels because of the disorganization. Because nobody wants to throw good money after bad money. So we must be able to streamline proper structures and ensure that there is proper accountability, at all levels of the federation. Yes.
Give us the parting shot.
We expect, for now, that everybody will rally behind the national team. We expect that those that have been clamoring for the respective changes, can we ensure that we also follow the national constitution, the Kenyan Constitution 2010. The current leadership is running its term. The term is not yet over. So for now and moving forward, can we put a stop to all this so that we can have a good tournament for the next 1 month? Because I believe if we have a good tournament, we will definitely have an opportunity to resuscitate the interest in Kenyan football, which eventually will lead to some of the corporates seeing the need to put their money into sponsorship of the clubs and the national team.
Thank you.